Last year, we looked into our crystal ball of what we thought would occur in AI in 2025. This year, we're doing something
Well,
different.
as fast as everything is moving, and as we saw with many 2025 predictions, it's unpredictable. Everything moves so fast that you could really get through all your predictions by February, and it's only getting faster from there. Trying to keep up with AI innovation is like trying to catch smoke. And so, what we're going to be looking at this year is what skills do we see are going to benefit you most in 2026 with how fast AI is moving?
Absolutely. And of course, we're going to look at the human skills, the technology skills, and also dialing it into your profession. So, this would be applicable if you're already employed or if you're looking for a job. We have a new book out on it, Job Hunting in the AI Era. I'll put the link below. It's how should we as human beings be sharpening our skills to adapt and adjust to this massively changing world.
Number one on the list that I'm going to recommend is AI fluency. And let me break this down for you real quick. We've heard a lot of AI literacy in 2025. AI fluency is the next step. So you know how to be compliant and responsible with AI. You know how to use certain tools such as ChatGPT or Google and Claude. Now you need to get to fluency to where as these tools expand, as their capabilities broaden, and as new tools roll out, how well are you going to be able to touch a new tool, maybe at work or for enjoyment or your own side business, and be able to quickly adapt and understand how to use it? And so this really is called AI agnostic fluency, where you're not tied to any one tool, but you understand how the tools work, how you get certain outputs, and how to speak to them, whether you're typing or you're speaking. A lot of it comes back to the new term coming out of prompt engineering as well as prompt orchestration. And that's that fluency. Do you understand what tool you're using? How is it searching information? Is it calling out the certain tools? The more you understand how it operates and how to effectively command it, so to speak, you're going to get much more out of it. And I think as we see agents starting to move away, as the NVIDIA CEO has recently said, as these agents move away from more program language and really having to go in and build them step by step, more into I can now ask for something and it builds it for me. Knowing how to discuss and ask for what you really need and understand what you're asking for is going to become more important.
And Justin, one of the beginning ways is make sure you're not just using one platform. So you're starting to look for the patterns that cross many. And this is something we've taught from the fundamentals. There are characteristics that map on to each one and their differences, just like Justin in the early days of social media. I said, see the patterns across the different platforms, and then you'll
Mhm.
build the anatomy, the fundamentals, so you can learn this stuff faster.
And speaking of patterns, that moves us right into the second one that I'm going to recommend, and that's knowing when to trust AI and when not to. What patterns are we seeing out there with hallucinations? Because they are still around. And when are we being fed something, say, what many people call AI slop, which is something that's just been tossed into a language model and spit out? And that could be anything from images such as Sora, or even some of the newer Higgsfield type level things, to where it's getting really hard at this point. And Martin, you and I have been talking about this for 3 years. It's getting to a point where it's going to be very hard to understand what is real and what is false. Are you reading something that's being used for phishing or spam that is incredibly convincing and very human centered, but it was produced by using a language model? And then, two, when you're using it, at what point do you feel comfortable putting your name on something versus not being comfortable with it as your brand? And this is going to become important because, again, we're still seeing in the court system that it's not the language model that's getting blamed for misuse or misinformation or this slop. It is the author who's using the language model. And so, again, when do you trust it? when do you know where you need to verify versus what it's provided? And so a lot of this really ties back to that number one, the AI fluency. This is a kind of another aspect of that, of you need to have human in the loop, especially when you go, if you were to dip your toe in automation this year, yeah, even if it's a thing of you can create an automated workflow just by, common language, natural language by typing a prompt in, you still need to understand what could happen there and what could cause you countless money if you're using APIs and something goes wrong and it's making all these calls, to what does the automation do for your business if something goes wrong. And so if you're using chatbots too, what information is being provided to your clients? And so really understanding now, with one being understanding what it can do, number two being understand what it can't do and how to find that and check it.
One of the things we've always taught is push the limits of these
Hmm.
things so they break. And that's how you start to learn it. Now, that doesn't mean you want to do it with core data in your business, but this is why you should start maybe overload a system to see what the contact window is like when it fails, and do little experiments so you start pushing against the frontiers of these and finding out where did they break down, and then be curious, wonder why that occurred. Why did it miss the middle of what I was doing? Maybe I could look up or maybe ask it to help me get better with this.
Right. And we're halfway through our list so far. And so the next one is going to be just like Martin just said, is how do you apply it? Now you are AI fluent, you're able to determine any bias or incorrect outputs. Now, having that understanding of it, how do you apply it? How do you push it until it breaks? And that's going to be another thing. And people say, oh, well, that's the easy part. It's really not, because sometimes this may look like sitting down and having a conversation for an hour with a language model to see where it goes. And that's that curiosity, that exploratory way of doing it. And so many clients that Martin and I have worked with who have seen huge gains on this, they started out with saying, this is supposed to save me time. So why would I commit an hour to this? I just recently met with a client this week who said, really, an hour? And we sat down for an hour together. And what we were able to pull from that saved them at least 6 hours of work. And that was just one conversation. Now imagine once you get comfortable with exploring your processes and workflows and apply that, what that can do. And one of the reasons this is challenging for many people is because, especially if you're a small business owner or you own your workflow, it's very uncomfortable to think that something could be wrong or inefficient. We don't want to face that. And so part of it too is understanding and gaining a mindset of, I want to find inefficiencies because that helps me understand where AI can come in. And once I push it to its limit and break it and find out where it fails, then I'm able to truly calculate how much time I can save each week. And just like Martin says, a lot of that comes with curiosity and willing to put at first some extra time aside to start learning how to do that, because the gains and the dividends will pay off in the long run.
Yeah, it's kind of like a button I have. AI could help me with that. Well, when you're doing something and you're stuck, go, I wonder if it could. And then you'll try it and go, oh, it didn't go as well, or it did go better. And understanding that a lot of these things are offering capabilities we never had available to us as human beings before. So that's why you want to keep learning and push those boundaries appropriately with not critical data or critical business things.
And I'll give you what Martin calls a gee whiz moment right here on the tips and tricks is you can ask it to help you do that. You can tell it a little bit about yourself. You can use the prompt that we tell everybody, ask me so many questions, one at a time so I can answer them to help me improve blank. Or that will allow me to understand what you can do for me. And these tools will tell you how they're able to help you become more productive and more efficient. So don't be afraid to ask it to help you. That's one of the things they're best at. We just forget that sometimes. Moving into the last but not the least on this list is part of that staying curious, but developing, and this can be a hard one, developing a sense of continuous learning. Because when we started this conversation, we talked about how it's impossible to stay up with the innovations in AI. There's a new tool dropping not every day, but almost every hour, it feels like. Martin and I have literally met 2 days prior to a class and something dropped, and we're teaching something new in the night of class because it just dropped an hour before class, and we want to bring it to everybody and tell them what the new update is. That's how fast this is moving. And so, what that's going to require, and it's not negotiable, is you do have to figure out one, what sources do you trust? And that could be something as simple as, following us, listening to a podcast, or checking out our LinkedIn, or if you're in the Facebook group, or finding different ways and outlets that you trust that have patterns of being reliable and consistent, and starting to use that as noticing these patterns and trends. Another part of it too is going to be attending workshops, attending online courses, finding ways that you can continually keep up with the developments with these tools, because we're getting to a point. Martin and I love our surfing analogy. And, we've been telling people for a long time, you got to dip your toe and jump in. We're really getting to a point where a lot of you are going to get sunburnt soon, and it's going to be too late. The waves are going to be moving on, or they're going to be getting bigger. And so I don't say that to scare anybody, but it is to show you that these things are progressing so much now, and they're so ingrained in our daily life and workflows, that if you're going to get in line with them and you're going to use them, now is the time, because soon they're going to become a little bit so advanced that it's going to be hard to catch up.
Absolutely. Justin, one of the things I want people to understand is we're facing new distinctions faster than we ever had in our life before. And it's sort of like, imagine a native who's never seen a picture before, and you hand the picture to the native and they don't know what it is. And then you describe what it is. And then all of a sudden, a new distinction of photography occurs from them. That's different than just adding on something. It's different than you learn balance on a bicycle and now you go to a scooter, and the basic fundamentals are the same. We're in a world where we're being required to develop new distinctions. And that requires going through discomfort and confusion. So you've got to pace yourself, keep your exercise up, keep your whatever you think keeps your brain going. Just know if you're feeling overwhelmed and it might take a little more time to learn, give yourself that time. And then decide what are the critical things you need to know at a superficial level, and what do you need to dive deeper into and have finer distinctions of that's brand new.
Absolutely. And what coincides with that are three things of HI, and that's not me saying hello, that's human intelligence. And so we have artificial intelligence, but it's only made successful and really reaches its true potential when it's paired correctly with human intelligence. And so, three skills that you're really going to have to leverage, especially in 2026, to get the most out of it, are going to be, and they're all equally, I'm not saying one, two, three, they're all across the board. That's critical thinking, problem solving, and communication. And so with critical thinking, that's going to come with both the critical thinking of how do I look at things? How do I break apart systems? And what a system could be. I know it sounds complex, but it could be, I work in sales, but I know that marketing needs X and it's going to impact billing. And so, how could I leverage, say, Claude to help me break down what I'm doing, or a workflow, to where my work is impacting positively other departments, which then saves me work from rework, having to fix something, and maybe builds my brand within the company. With a small business, it's very simple of how does my marketing impact my bottom line, because I'm leveraging a free tool in a way that I don't have to purchase so many subscriptions. And so that critical thinking is part of that push it until it breaks, and how we view things, which really flows in then to your problem solving. And how do you apply critical thinking in problem solving. And so, do you already have an established framework to where when you come up against a barrier or you see an opportunity, how are you breaking down? Now, these are two aspects that are very important with AI because it's such a powerful analytical tool that if you apply the third one, which is communication well, you're able to leverage the power of language models to assist you in critical thinking, strategic planning and problem solving because it's able to very easily break complex tasks down into simple steps. And so, as long as you're able to apply that third skill, which is effective communication, you're able to then tap into a power that's well beyond what our capabilities are at this point and assist you in that. Now, one thing that I would state is that we do not need to fall into the danger of cognitively offloading to where I'm going to let it solve the problem and I'll say that I'm the problem solver because I know how to use it. But what I recommend, whether it's from an educational or a consultant standpoint, is when you do use these tools to break down advanced problems or strategically approach a situation, the best thing you need to do, which is going to benefit you, and I 100% will back this, have it explain what it did. Even if it's on a very basic level, and then you work your way up, have it explain what it did because one, now you better understand what it did, so you can change your prompt in the future. But then two, you've just added to your knowledge and wisdom because next time you come up against a problem like that, that is going to stick with you, which is going to make you a much more fluent user. And so that's three of the things that we teach there. And that's three human skills that directly impact what Martin's talking about.
Yeah. And there's another aspect of this. If you're really thinking, it's work. Giving a snap answer is appropriate sometimes. You know it right away. Where's the light switch? It's over there. Make sure there are times when you're allowing not knowing to exist in your mind for a period of time. I refer to this as inquiry. Years ago, I did a training with one of my mentors and we called it autopilot versus focus pilot. There are different times for each one of those where there's a time for a quick answer, but there's also a time for I need to pause. It doesn't mean you have to say, I have no clue of this. If a client asks, say, I need to take a little time and look into this deeper. And people will respect that, but it's also you learning to use your conscious and unconscious mind, learning to stand in what I call confusion and not knowing. That's where the deeper thinking occurs. And if you're not doing it, you'll know because it takes energy. You got to be rested. It's hard work. And many things, sometimes, Justin, you've known me for well over 10 years. I go, well, where'd you come up with that? I said, well, it took 7 years to come up with that little way of putting it together because I'll often let something unresolved sit in my mind and then sort of work on it, do something different, go for a hike. Make sure you're doing those things to build up your muscle. And then on the communications, Justin, that could be maybe developing your skills in an area that you aren't as strong, but allows you to improve
Mhm.
communication. That means not avoiding little conflicts in life and make sure you figure out and develop that muscle. That means you learning something about negotiation or public speaking or how to be in front of a camera. All these little things that push you outside your comfort zone and improve your skills in speaking is, to me, part of the competitive advantage you have as a human being today.
And Martin, to back that up, because we're going to show you, kind of put our the money where our mouth is that's a demo we actually use quite often, is we'll take Copilot or Gemini or ChatGPT, we'll take the phone out and we'll do this live to where we have a conversation with it. And it could be, help me learn how to negotiate by actively negotiating or set up a scenario where I'm in a tense conflict and help me force me, through this simulation to de-escalate and resolve the conflict. Or practice a sales pitch. And that there is learning by doing. And that's something that you have access to 24/7 in a relatively safe space, as long as you're not putting in any personal identifiable information, to where it's a judge-free zone, because it's you and your phone and your language model. And so it's not like someone's going to be judging you because you gave a wrong answer. And so now you can actually practice it and improve your skills live.
Such a great example. And we've done that so many times. And then, of course, you could say, let me know what worked, what I did correct,
Mm.
what are areas I could improve in. And I remember us doing that with a shop owner in one of our classes where he could practice role playing with new employees of difficult customers. And he was so excited. My gosh, I can do this. And we can sit there. It also takes it out of the personal, so it's not as judgmental. All of these things. And this is what we're focused on. Justin and I have a commitment to bringing and expanding AI through all of North Carolina, ethically, effectively, profitably, and ways that truly help enhance the citizens of our state and makes them smarter and more effective, including education and professional. Check it out. This is something we do. This is something we're passionate about. We have a team of 5 all working at different levels to keep up with this on a daily, weekly basis. And we're excited to help you get better in these fields. If you think we missed something, put a comment below as well. We'd love to hear it. Maybe we did. We're not afraid to make mistakes and learn from them, right, Justin?
Absolutely.
Let's hear from you. Check out the resources below. This is Martin Brossman
And Dr. Justin Rose.
Have a great day.